That file is outstanding, yes.
Oh. Then 2.2, we requested relevant documentation for purposes of section 28, specifically that enabled IDEC to initiate investigations into the alleged misappropriation of the crime intelligence slush fund. On our record, that document too has not, that documentation hasn't been provided, am I correct?
We have provided, Advocate Maga, I believe we have provided a section 28.1.
For?
And that is the section 28.1 that we have.
Okay, let's just, and that is why this exercise is necessary. You recall, if we take a step back, your testimony is that Mr. Adams filed a section 27 in November 24, and that was followed up by engagements in January 25 to seek further clarification. And you indicated that the clarification sought and obtained in January 25, by then the investigation had broken into different legs.
Correct.
What we have been dealing with is the Mukwele leg, and I had understood you to say there are about, in total, 6 investigations flowing from the section 27. And one of the allegations advanced or suspicions expressed was that certain generals, mainly the 3 generals, General Kumalo, Lekalakala, the third one escapes me now, were misappropriating crime intelligence slush funds. That was a specific investigation as I understood it. So 2.2 requests documentation regarding that particular leg. And now I want to establish whether or not we have been provided. We've been provided with dockets from Cape Town and Pretoria, but I didn't understand the dockets to speak specifically to this, unless perhaps we didn't express ourselves in the clearest of terms.
Chair, the evidence leader did express herself clearly. The letter is clear. Perhaps to clarify, we have a section 28.1 with regards the slush fund council. That still is in the section 28.13, which had been provided. It is still in its investigation phase and had not moved into the section 28.1 phase, if I could clarify.
I confirm that what we have since received on that score then is the section 28.13 application.
That is correct.
And you say that this issue was reflected in 2.2 is part of that.
It is reflected in the 28.13 from my recollection, yes.
Then we get to 2.3, all relevant documentation. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. 2.2 also refers to a section 27 affidavit.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for pointing that out to me. Advocate Johnson, you hear Commissioner Baloy's clarification. There are actually 2 requests in that 2.2.
The only 27 we have is the section 27, Commissioner Baloy, that was referred by Adams on the 21st of November, 2024.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloy.
I don't know if he uses the direct words, but we would see it in the 27. There isn't an additional one.
Thank you. Turning then to 2.3, this was documentation providing authorization for the investigation to the manipulation of security vetting process. We know that it's in the 27.
Correct.
But this specifically relates to unlawful issuing of security clearances in favor of certain persons within crime intelligence. So that you recall in the Mukwele matter, there is a complaint about manipulation of security vetting processes. But then it goes further to talk about recruitment and employment and manipulation in respect of other people besides Brigadier Mukwele. And that's what 2.3 sought to obtain.
That counsel should be in the docket that was provided, Brooklyn CAS 543 of 6/2025.
And for the record file 54306/2025, that is the fourth docket, Chair, that we referenced when we started Advocate Johnson's testimony, on which we said a warrant of arrest had been issued but suspended in June.
That would be correct.
Okay. 2.4, the inquiry file containing all relevant information pertaining to the alleged manipulation of appointment processes with a view to appointing individuals other than Brigadier Mukwele. Is there such?
So the inquiry file, those matters, from what I understand, fall within the I had to make notes, if you'll just pardon. Inquiry file. That matter is a matter that has not been, there's no CAS registered for it yet, Chair. It still operates under the CIN reference number. I think those are the documents, Council, that Advocate Maga would have sent through last night, where there were different volumes containing evidence and affidavits, which is a matter still under investigation. It is not a CAS.
Okay. Just scroll back to 2.1, your 2.1. Are you saying that what's requested at 2.4 is part of that investigation, that big CIN number?
Yes. All of the matters, that was the only inquiry number that was opened.
Yes. And that record is still outstanding?
Yes.
So we can't gain any insight into what is requested at 2.4 until we get the inquiry file?
The inquiry file in 2.4 has been made available.
Okay.
So when I call it inquiry, it contains evidence, Chair, it contains documentation. Because the investigation has not yet been finalized, it has not been registered as a docket. That is why it still operates under the CIN number, which in itself is an inquiry.
Also, but all information relating to the subject identified here is there.
Correct.
And has been furnished, you say?
Correct, Chair.
Thank you.
I'll make a note of that. I'll come back to the issue shortly, Commissioners. Then lastly, we requested all A1 statements provided by Honorable Adams MP as of January 2025. And those A1s have been provided.
That is correct, Council. I obtained them from the investigating team on Friday. They gave me copies thereof. The copies have been handed as they were furnished.
Thank you.
I believe, unfortunately, an apology is somewhat late yesterday evening.
Ms. Silo,
Yes, Chair.
didn't you, perhaps because of the reference to other than Brigadier Mukwele, which appears in 2.4, did you not as a result skip 2.5, which also has the other than Brigadier Mukwele?
Oh, yes, I apologize. I skipped that.
Yes.
I realized I skipped 2.5. Thank you for pointing it out, Chair.
Yes.
Yes, and Chair, that then would also relate to that inquiry file of 2.4. All those other appointments would form part of that file.
Thank you.
Hence, it was that many volumes that were supplied.
Most obliged. So then we've dealt with 2.4, 2.5. We're at 2.6. And it's all A1 statements provided by Mr. Adams as at January 25, however many there may be.
Correct. As I indicated, they said there were four, there was one per docket, and in fact, I was given four,
Okay.
which I then furnished.
Thank you. I think those were the documents we had requested as at close of business on Thursday. Commissioners, you have, unfortunately, a new file added. It's file 9. It currently, the index is being updated. These were documents that came in last night and this morning. And that file 9 should then contain the documents referenced in paragraph 2.6 of the letter. You do have file 9 with you, Advocate Johnson.
That is correct.
These are the documents as received from yourself from yesterday, and in fact, even file 8 has been updated. So file 8 has got additions. And all these are the documents that have been flowing over the course of the weekend in response to this letter. We, as the evidence leaders, need to apply our minds to file 9 to see the extent to which it answers the requests set out in the letter under reference. And that, of course, will impact our approach to her testimony. So we may have to stand down some issues until after tea while we wrap our minds around the new documents. Thank you. With that, I think we are ready then to pick up where we left off on Thursday. For that purpose, I would like you to have before you file 3. And at file 3, I would like us to go to page 936. This is a Section 28 summons issued and signed by you on the 6th of February 2025. The questions I'll be posing on this document could potentially be part answered by the A1 statements you received, that you've provided in terms of the letter, all A1 statements issued by Mr. Adams.
Okay.
Could potentially be, but like I say, still have to consider the content. You, I assume, would have cast your eye on the A1 statements and are able to confirm whether or not the A1 statements provided lend us to where this Section 28 summons is. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
My view is that summons will only make sense if buttressed by a compliant Section 27, supplementary statements, and any other information available to the investigators as at the 6th of February to issue that summons. Would that be a logical?
It follows.
Thank you. Now, this document, the summons, if you go over leaf at 937, just above a signature there, above your name, which I think it's your signature, you do confirm.
Yes, ma'am.
The details of the matter are said to be as follows, I quote, "This investigation pertains to manipulation of security vetting processes which resulted in the unlawful issuing of security clearances in favor of personnel within the Division Crime Intelligence of the South African Service." End quote.
I see that.
At the time you signed these summons, what evidence did you have, as by you, of course, I mean collectively the institution IDEC, what evidence did IDEC have to even conclude that there had been manipulation of security vetting processes and unlawful issuing of security clearances in favor of anyone within crime intelligence?
According to me, it would have had to have been the Section 27 referral, and it would have had to have been the supplementary affidavits that had been taken in January of 2025.
And as we established last week, we know that our Section 27 only expresses a suspicion
Correct.
of the commission of this crime without any underlying facts to support such a suspicion. So the answer then must lie in the subsequent supplementaries that we were received.
Correct.
My question then is, what must the commission do if it lands at a position where the supplementary statements do not support a claim such as reflected here? That on reading both the Section 27 and the relevant supplementary statement, one cannot reasonably conclude that a crime such as reflected here has even been committed or contemplated.
So if it's not made out in the supplementary, because that is what the supplementary sought to do, then these become problematic,
Yes.
because one would have to go back Sorry,
yes.
At the bottom, sorry, Chair, at the bottom of 936, it does say at the bottom there was also one of the investigators assigned was Investigator Mlambo. So the inquiries to Senior Investigator Mlambo at the bottom of 936.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yes,
At where it indicates to whom inquiries must be addressed.
yes.
Okay. So he also could potentially be one. Now, we have since come to learn that Brigadier Ngube at item 1.4 was involved in the panel that recommended the appointment. Chair, apologies.
Oh, yeah. May I just refer to the part just above your signature at 937. That's the part headed details of the matter or other information. Was that meant to capture what was to be investigated? Or why is that included there?
Chair, they include it in there so as not to have a generalized subpoena. Because if you issue it only with the introduction and the background, and then you on 938 just have a list of requests, it must relate to something. So when it's put in there, that is what the investigators reflect.
So am I correct to say it was meant to set out what's intended to be investigated?
That is correct.
Oh, okay. For the future, perhaps, for those who will be at IDEC, because the way it's captured, it says this investigation pertains to manipulation of security vetting processes, which resulted in the unlawful issuing of security clearances. It appears to be stating a fact instead of saying...
An allegation of
Yes,
sorts.
yes. It's
I
stating
take
a fact as it is currently stated or set out there.
The point is noted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Staying then with this list, as I said, we've come to learn that Brigadier Ngube was part of the panel that interviewed and recommended Brigadier Mukwele for appointment. I think I've been making a mistake, which I would like to take opportunity to correct. 1.5, the Van Vuren referred to here, is a crime intelligence officer already within crime intelligence. It's not the Van Vuren that applied for the job with Mrs. Mukwele. So, at some point I concluded that it was one of the applicants, but judging by information on some other documents here, I think I'm wrong in that regard, and I'd like to take this opportunity to correct my error. You then have Brigadier Mukwele. The one name I haven't come across in this investigation is Brigadier D. Bobby. Do you know who that is and how she gets to be included in this list?
It could be that it is not a person who is being investigated, but a person to provide the documents, having the... No, I haven't come across Bobby, because they read exactly the same as the other. Sorry, yes, it reads the same.
Now, as I had suggested to you, it's likely, as you say, either Mr. Perumal, Mr. Padiech, Mr. Mancha, or Mr. Mlambo prepared this. What do you, as the ID, normally have before you to ensure that the summons that you authorize is supported by some level of evidence that entitle you, as IDEC, to investigate, in this case, these crime intelligence officers to this extent? Do you just take their word for it? Do they prepare a document for you? Do you have an opportunity to glance the inquiry file to account for each name that is listed here?
What ordinarily happens, Chair, is that the person who issues or drafts the summons would come and brief the ID on, we need to issue a summons to this person. Part of the investigation relates to the manipulation of the security vetting, and in our investigation we have identified what is required and from whom.
So, if I understand you correctly, when we do get that investigation file, we will have a clear understanding of the basis on which these officers were selected to be included in the summons, each one of them in turn.
It should.
Okay, because you say it should, you force me to run ahead, and if it doesn't? If
Then
when we do receive the file, we find that there is no basis for what is contained in Annex B against these officers, what does that mean for IDEC and the Commission and the law?
Well, first of all, IDEC would have to, the person who compiled the summons would have to indicate where they've got this from, if it's not in the file, and what was the base document upon which these names were extracted and or identified.
It can't.
And the basis.
Continue.
Sorry, the basis on which the names were identified and the purpose for which they were identified.
It can't be that person only. It would have to be you as well. Ultimately, you are the person that authorized, only your signature appears here, not this other person that you are referring to. So we, as we sit here, look to you to furnish the information that you say someone else would have to furnish.
I agree. Once the information is furnished, that we have to go through that information.
No, I think the question also is as at the time you signed, what was your understanding with regard to what Advocate Sello is asking you about? Because as at the time you signed, your mind should have focused on the issue Advocate Sello is raising, or not?
The issue I focused on, Chair, was the briefing by the investigator,
Yes.
indicating what was required and why and from whom. It was a briefing, and then I signed the subpoena.
Yes, but you accept that as you sign, you accept that you are satisfied with everything that's on here, including the annexures, that everything is what it should be, which is why you sign.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
So you did satisfy yourself that these names are correctly included in the summons?
I had no doubt sorry, my English escapes me. I had no doubt, I had no reason to doubt the briefing that was given to me by the investigator. So I didn't ask for a sorry, Counsel. I didn't ask for a document. I was satisfied with the briefing that I was given. That as an investigation team, they identified that this is the investigation that is outstanding, this is what they require for the investigation, and this is what it is that must be subpoenaed.
It sounds slightly different to what you have just said to the chair. I'd understood you to mean you satisfied yourself that there is not a name in Annex B that ought not to be there because either there is no evidence supporting it. So I thought you satisfied yourself. But it sounds like I misunderstood you. What you mean is that you satisfied yourself that the investigator who put these names before you had done their work. You took their word for it, and that's how you satisfied yourself.
That is correct.
So you open yourself up because it's your signature that gives authority.
Correct.
you open yourself up for potential manipulation by some of your investigators because you trust them implicitly.
I take note.
Now, what do you suggest the commission
Maybe-
must recommend?
Ms. Silla,
Yeah,
maybe
apologies.
before you get to the suggestion question, can I just understand this? You satisfied yourself, and I want to look at specifically this list. So let's look at 1.1, and I just want to understand what it means that you satisfied yourself. The request is based on that there was manipulation, if you go back the previous page, which resulted in unlawful issuing of security clearances. That is what you're investigating. Are you saying you were satisfied from the briefing you got that there was a basis to investigate whether General Kumalo, or an allegation that General Kumalo's security clearance given when he was a brigadier was a result of manipulation of your vetting process, of their vetting processes? When he became Major General, the security clearance that he got was a result of the manipulation of vetting processes. And then when he ultimately becomes well, I think he's a brigadier, Major General, and then Lieutenant General. Are you saying that with the briefing, you are satisfied that there is a basis to investigate those clearances that he got starting with brigadier? Is that what you satisfied yourself about, that there was a basis for that?
There was a basis.
For that.
To request those documents to determine whether or not, in fact, there was a manipulation of the security vetting processes.
So you were satisfied that there is from your briefing, you were satisfied that there is sufficient information that casts doubt on his security vetting for all those three positions?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ms. Sim.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloy. And perhaps just to clarify, when Colonel Padiache appeared before the commission and was engaged on this document, he testified that his investigation was confined to the recommendation and appointment of Brigadier Mkwele. So that's the person appearing at 1.6. And he explained that this summons was intended to cover all other investigations. So he could not account for how the names of 1.1 to 1.5 and 1.7 found its way into this summons. His interest lies only in 1.6. You suggested that we should turn perhaps to Colonel Padiache, Mr. Perumal, Mr. Mancha, and Mr. Mlambo. On that basis, on the basis of what I have just highlighted, it would sound that Mr. Padiache, Colonel Padiache has given an account of this Section 28, and we cannot turn to him. Would there be a reason for you to question that he is correct, that he can only account for Brigadier Mkwele because that was the leg of the investigation he was involved in?
Chair, because they work as a team, you would find that they compile these subpoenas, and when they compile the subpoenas, they identify as a team what is required. As indicated initially, when the legs are broken up into different legs of investigation, they also would then, in the manner in which they subpoena documents, don't subpoena per individual, especially when you're subpoenaing, as an example, from the National Commissioner. They would want to subpoena as many of the similar types of documents. So he would have had to have been part of that conversation and would have had to know that all of these people are also being considered. It's a bit difficult to divorce yourself when you are part of a team, because on the basis of what would you say to Mr. Mlambo, whose name is on the... Mr. Mlambo, while you're doing this, just add my one. They would have to agree as a team. Vetting processes, this is what we're looking at. Who are we looking at? What are we requesting? Whom do we request it from? That makes sense in terms of their investigative methodology.
Okay, so then, if I understand you correctly, they bear collective responsibility for that list.
They
It's
do.
not enough for Colonel Padiache to say, I was only investigating the appointment of the person listed in item 1.6.
That is
That's,
correct.
okay.
Sorry,
Yes,
before,
yes,
you,
Commissioner.
before you do your question again, just to make sure that we're not missing each other or you understand the fullness of what I was trying to do. I used 1.1 General Kumalo as just an example,
Yes.
but in fact, what I was raising applies to all of the people on the list. Can we confirm that your response applies to all of them as
That
well?
is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bala.
Yes, Commissioner.
Good morning, Advocate Johnson.
Good morning, Commissioner.
If you look at 937 and the offenses listed there, it is fraud and corruption in the bullet points, you see that?
I say that, Commissioner.
Yes, and then you go to Annexure B. Let's just focus on Major General Lushaba, for example. For the rank of Colonel, Brigadier, and Major General, was there Section 27 referral to IDEC suggesting that their vetting and clearances were tainted with fraud and corruption? Just focusing only on Major General Lushaba. Was there such a 27 referral suggesting that their vetting and clearances were tainted with fraud and corruption?
It was the generalized Section 27, Commissioner Kumalo, of Adams of November, and we just need to check in the additional A1s that were taken, if they were expanded on in those A1s. But there was a generalized Section 27 referral.
Because my recollection of the Section 27 is that he was saying all the colonels in crime intelligence are not suitable. I don't remember seeing anywhere in that Section 27 where he says their security clearances and their vetting were tainted with fraud and corruption.
I would just have to...
If you go to file 2, page 512, CJC 373, that is the Section 27 affidavit by Mr. Adams.
Sorry, Council, the page reference?
512.
It starts on 512. If you look at paragraph 4 on 513, that is the general statement that is made. And it starts with the manipulation of procurement processes. And it lists the civilian who worked for BMW. And then the paragraph after that says it is concerning that out of all the colonels employed in crime intelligence, none of them were suitable to be appointed to this post. But I don't recall seeing in the referral anywhere where it says Major General Lushaba's vetting and clearance is tainted with fraud and corruption.
Sorry, Chair, if you just grant me a moment. Where's that? Yes, yeah, correct, Commissioner Khumalo, he just refers to processes to appoint and promote
Yeah.
certain members.
So it's the Mukwele issue where the vetting is a problem. And then reference to Lushaba is in paragraph 6 on 514, is the issue of the housebreaking and the laptop.
That is correct.
But there is no referral relating to their vetting or their security clearance being tainted with fraud and corruption. So if that is so, would there be a legal basis for then investigating their vetting and security clearances at all 4 levels, or at 3, at the level of a colonel, brigadier, and major general?
Chair, it would depend on what else they did have access to at the time, because they would have had to have access to the additional A1 statements that were taken, and not just this. So I would be remiss if I say no. Because this is done, Chair, in February of 2025. By that stage, they would have had the engagements with Adams, and in terms of those additional statements, I'm not sure that additional documents were provided, but they would have had a twofold basis upon which.
But as I understand it, the substance of what Commissioner Khumalo is raising with you is this. If this was never referred in terms of the affidavit, how do we suddenly have it here? The fact that the investigators may have come across some information at a later stage cannot cure the lack of a referral in the first instance. I thought that's the substance of the question.
Correct, yes. And so we would just have to look at the additional A1, and because the additional A1 is supposed to talk to the Section 27, if it is not there, then it doesn't talk to.
So even if the information is subsequently obtained and is contained somewhere, it means nothing if there was no referral in the first place, or not?
Unless there was other evidence before the issue of the summons.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay.
Thank you, Commissioners. So, when we do look at file 9, which is where the additional statements are by Mr. Adams, what do you suggest what conclusions do you suggest the Commission must draw if this Section 28 is not supported, in its terms, is not supported by the A1s? Oh, please, so apologies. Sorry, you were looking for your files. I'll start again.
I have them.
I was saying now, having had the benefit of this engagement, and we know that we have those A1 statements, supplementary statements by Mr. Adams in file 9, which we are still going to look through so that we can zero in on the relevant documents. What do you suggest? What conclusions do you suggest the Commission must draw if a reading of those A1 statements together with the Section 27 referral affidavit do not support the summons in the terms as reflected?
And in the absence of anything else before the date of the issue of the summons.
Just pause there. What else would there have been? Because so far we have understood that the summons arise from the Section 27, read with the dockets in Orlando and Cape Town, the A1s, and read with the supplementary affidavits by Mr. Adams. That's all we have. Is there anything we have missed? And
No, I think the point I was trying to make, Council, is we just need to check that there isn't anything else before the 6th of February other than the 27 and the additional statements. What I'm trying to get to, is I don't know whether he attached anything else. Was it just the A1? But that is all
Yes.
I expect would have been there.
on that point, what could potentially be there? What should we be looking out for?
The only thing that could potentially be there is if he, over and beyond the additional A1, attached documents
Okay.
in support of.
Okay.
That could be the only thing, which might then talk to, but that would be the only other thing.
Now we've settled the documents that we should look to try and understand the basis, the legal basis for the Section 28 summons. My question to you was, what would your advice to the commissioners be as regards how they view this Section 28 summons in circumstances where all the documents that you have listed, we have just discussed, do not factually or legally support this Section 28? What would your advice to them be?
Then the investigation is problematic. Whatever follows is problematic.
And what do you say about its legal validity and everything that arises therefrom?
Short of a proper detailed explanation from the investigators, and if an explanation is given and one that is not accepted by the commission, then that investigation falls away. It has to be a legitimate investigation. It has to be supported by documentation. That is the basis, Chair and Commissioners, on which IDAC has worked on all its other matters. This matter cannot be an exception. And so what I'm saying is, if we find that there is in fact an exception which ought not to be there, then it must be explained by those who did it, but then it goes back to, so what do you do with it now?
Now, that is relevant, and I think earlier you indicated, that is relevant to docket number 453, is that, or /06/2025. The docket you said is still under investigation, the docket in which J50 was issued for the arrest of General Kumalo, I think, and General Madondo, but which arrest warrant was then suspended. This is where that investigation, that is the matter that this investigation results in. That is about manipulation of their own security clearances, am I correct?
That is what I understand, yes.
So, where then we are, as you have testified.
Sorry, Mr.
Yes.
Can I just understand? The manipulation of their own security clearances is the allegation, and I'm just trying to understand your answer, is the allegation that they manipulated their own security status, or which is the one possibility. The other is they're charged and accused of manipulating other people's security vetting, because maybe let me leave it at that. Which of the two, because they're not the same.
Yes, as I understand, for example, in one matter, without going into the detail of the person's name, the person put in false affidavits about material requirements towards vetting.
Their own vetting.
Their own vetting.
Okay.
And then that was accepted as is by persons who ought to have interrogated and or engaged the process, and to have picked up during this process that the person had manipulated and or lied. And so the question was, did the second person knowingly overlook that there was an untruth, a manipulation in the process. But it ordinarily starts with a person whose application is defective, for lack of a better word, Commissioner Baloy.
So what it is with that case is that one of them misrepresented certain information to the other, and the other did whatever they did to approve the vetting, if approve is the correct word. And your question in respect of that second person is whether they did so knowingly or not. Is that
Correct.
Is that what you're saying? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I need to move to a different document, but before I do so, how many Section 27 affidavits are you aware of that Mr. Adams filed with IDEC?
The one that we referred to earlier?
Are you aware of any other that
No.
either preceded or post-dated that one?
I'm aware of the 21 November.
Of November?
Correct.
That's the only one?
Yes.
I ask because in the course of our investigations, it would appear that there were actually two Section 27s with some differences
Okay.
between them. I just wanted to establish whether you were aware of both of them.
I'm aware of the one that we've been going through the past few days.
And if I recall, this one that we've been dealing with, you say was solicited by Chief Perumal and then eventually landed on your desk. And that's the only one you have worked with.
Correct.
Okay. I need to then refer you to a different document to understand how the system works. And I'm looking for the Section 28(1) authorization. I have it at page 3288. Apologies, not that one. I'm looking for the 2813, 3307. That, I think we are still, we are still in file 8 still.
Do we put away 3?
Not too far, Chair. We'll be coming back to it.
Please look at the one on 3282. Is it that one, or are we looking for a different one?
3282, that's a 2813.
It's also a 2813.
Yes, there are a few of those. And
This was the 6th December. I remember there was a later
Yes.
one that you showed.
the later one, Commissioner, is the 28-1 of 30th May
Which one are we looking at?
for the 6th of December.
Okay.
20.
There are actually, there is one 3285. But the 3285 is the designation. What I'm looking for is the actual application. And that's how I landed 3307. Thank you. Are you at file 83307?
Correct, Council?
Now, I understood your testimony on Thursday, in summary, to be Advocate Ramsamy You hand the section 27 to Advocate Ramsamy. She considers the affidavit together with the legal provisions. She then arrives at certain conclusions and she drafts a section 2813 application and submits to you for consideration and approval. Am I on the right track there?
That is correct.
So I see at 3307, it's one such, it's addressed to you. And it says Advocate Santos Manilao and Advocate Ramsamy. It's dated the 5th of December 2024. This is in relation to the list of 12, and that is at 3309. And while we are here, Advocate, I've resisted the temptation, but I think I succumb. The person at 3.12, automotive engineer, who's that? Is the automotive name? Do you have any idea?
No, Chair. These were the names that, when I checked with Advocate Ramsamy, she said they were on that. They were on a paper that were furnished after Mr. Perumal had spoken to Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Yes.
So, at the risk of asking a stupid question, automotive engineer has got an ID number. Is that somebody we can search for at Home Affairs?
It should be an entity that could be found.
An entity.
Yes, ma'am.
But it says engineer, suggesting a person.
It's an entity, from how I understand it.
All right. I'm interested in 313, though. It says any and all individuals or entities whose identities are currently unknown, but which may become known during the investigation. You recall we started with Section 27th affidavit, which identified the first three names. We established that Mr. Perumal, through you suggested Mr. Perumal added the rest of the names, having consulted with Mr. Adams. But then it goes, so that's broadening it. But 313 goes even broader. Considering the purpose for which you would be issuing a Section 28 investigating, that there should be a limit to powers that are granted. 313 could very well discover my name in there and I become subjected to this investigation. Is that proper, though? Because it's a limitless power and authorization here.
Council, it's not limitless because it relates to any and all individuals or entities whose identities are currently unknown, but are limited in which may become known during the course of this investigation.
Yes.
Yes.
But it doesn't go further to say that they are implicated in whatever crime is being investigated.
No.
It's just the names being known, and suddenly there's authorization to go investigate them as well.
It doesn't of necessity mean that they are investigated. Any and all individuals or entities whose identities are currently unknown, but which may become known during the course of the investigation. Once those details come through, investigators are able to determine whether those are persons of interest to be investigated or those are persons whose names have come up and are potential witnesses.
So technically it's left to then the investigators. If they like me, they come across my name, they don't have to investigate. But if they don't like me, then they investigate. Do you understand my challenge? Because I think too much power resides and discretion resides with them. And that somehow has the potential to undermine the system. Doesn't it?
I take your point, but that shouldn't be done.
Okay.
That is not what the purpose of this insertion is. And it was also for practical reasons. You've got the authorization. conducting investigations, names come up, and the names can be either or. So if it is persons who would fall into the category of suspects or persons of interest, then you'd have to come back for an amendment. Yes. And so you are able to then deal with the investigation without the to and fro of the. I do take the point.
Okay.
And perhaps it could be couched somewhat differently, but this is what we have used over the time.
But isn't it a necessary control mechanism that what has been justified to you are the specific names? So you were given these names, there must have been justification to you. We had the earlier discussion about you satisfying yourself that there is a basis to include these specific names. And if that is your system, then paragraph 3.13 should not be there, because it means people will be included without it being justified to you who gave the authority. You understand the point I'm making?
I understand.
So 3.13 is very much open to abuse if you're not controlling it, if they don't come back to you to justify. And what you are saying to us now is you gave them that latitude to justify just from 3.1 up to 3.12, but then beyond that, you gave them latitude to justify that, and you were satisfied that there is merit in having 3.1 up to 3.12 to be investigated. But then what you go on to do then in 3.13, and you say to us that's how IDEC has always operated, is you then leave it to them to then determine as they go along to investigate without having to justify to you, which defeats the very purpose of justification to you in the first place. So my suggestion would be, if that's how you were operating, then you may as well just have at 3.13. They come and they tell you, we are going to investigate anyone that may be implicated, because that's the effect of 313. It allows anyone that Colonel Pareachi gets their name, you know, if Mr. Adams had said, Mr. Bodlani, that's all that would have happened. He would have gone and investigated him under 3.13 without coming to you as the repository of the authority to authorize investigations into individuals, without coming to you to say, here's my justification for investigating him.
It was not the intention, but I do take
But it is the effect.
It in all likelihood is the effect, and I take the point. And just for reassurance, Mr. Bodlani is not in 3.13.
Yeah, we don't know who else Mr. Colonel Pareachi included in there, but he may well, and you have no control over that, you have no way of knowing. And I say Colonel Pareachi not to target him specifically, all your investigators. They may well be conducting investigations of individuals that are not authorized by you, and that may possibly not be related to a subject matter with that kind of provision.
The point is taken, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We were still with that application. I see if we go to page 3311.
Sorry, Ms. Lila, maybe before you go
Yes.
there, let me ask my question before I forget. You say at 3310 under 4, participation of other disciplines, and you have the asset forfeiture unit. Was the asset forfeiture unit ever involved with this investigation at this point? And what was their involvement?
So, what we ordinarily do is once an investigation is commenced with, we will send, or we will invite asset forfeiture in to know that there's a new investigation. But the investigation progresses for quite some time before they're brought back in, because it depends on the stage of the investigation. And their purpose is then to determine, as the commissioners know, whether or not the offences as they are, deal with the proceeds of crime, and whether or not that must be taken forward.
So you, IDEC, as a matter of course, every investigation you alert the AFU
Yes,
that you're conducting that investigation.
correct.
Even though on the face of it, let's take a Section 27 referral, and even if on the face of it, your Section 27 doesn't raise issues that may implicate any forfeiture issues, you, as a matter of course, just inform them of that.
That is correct, and they will make an assessment at the end. There are many matters where at the end of the assessment, there isn't a recovery to be made, either in terms of the civil and or the criminal recovery. But it is a matter of practice in the entire NPA that we do refer matters to asset forfeiture, be they to determine proceeds of crime or instruments of criminality.
So there would be a letter in this docket or this file, this CIN file, there would be a letter that is directed to the asset forfeiture unit that we must have, or we must find.
What we ordinarily do, when the team has its first meeting, they invite a colleague from the asset forfeiture unit. And as the matters progress within those meetings, there are engagements and it's usually emails that are shared between the colleagues, setting out what they require if they found anything. And because we are part of the NPA, it's not an invite per se, they are drawn into the matter.
So if we were minded to get more detail about what happened in the first meeting, we would expect, on your explanation, that because you seem to now say there's nothing in writing, that's fine. I don't quarrel if that's how you were doing things. But if we were to look into that first meeting, we would and we should find that there was a representative of the asset forfeiture unit, and therefore such a person would be able to tell us, in fact, what happened in that meeting.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mr.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloyi. Then perhaps just to close up that angle, please go to 3308, same file, same document. And I'm looking at paragraphs 1.3 to paragraph 1.7, where the document provides the nature of crimes that are being investigated. On my reading of them, I don't see how, perhaps let me ask you a question. In which one in particular would SIU find a role?
So we also invite SIU where there are issues of procurement and or contracts.
Okay.
And they do assist us with the investigation to determine legitimacy of those contracts.
Yes.
It may turn out that there shouldn't be a further criminal investigation in that matter, and the SIU is able to deal with that contract, setting it aside and recouping the money for that department. Because that is generally part of that mandate.
So that's what would be what's set out in paragraph 1.7.
That would be correct.
Then my reading of this, and bearing in mind your explanation, this application for an investigation in terms of 2813 is broader than the Section 27 as we have it, because my reading of Section 27 does not include any allegations of fraud or corruption pertaining to awarding of tenders and contracts. Remember, that's file 2, page 512. The closest I get to is a general statement at paragraph 4, where Mr. Adams says he suspects that Generals Kumalo, Madondo, and Lushaba were manipulating procurement processes. That's as far as he takes it.
That is where you find it.
So, and we land with fraud and corruption pertaining to awarding of tenders and or contracts involving SAPs and or circumventing of procurement processes at 1.7.
And that also goes back, Council, to paragraph 4.
Yeah, I say at paragraph 4 of the section 27 affidavit speaks to manipulation of procurement processes and processes to appoint. The rest of the affidavit concentrates on processes to appoint, but it just that one throwaway line where Mr. Adams says he suspects manipulation of procurement processes and says nothing more beyond that. Remembering that beyond that he speaks of abuse of the funds, the Secret Service funds themselves, but that's not procurement.
No.
So I'm just interested in just reading that one-liner, how we end up with a potential.
Sorry, I just want to read that abuse of funds.
Okay.
Because I seem to think they have a correlation that the funds are
And then I say this on the assumption that abuse of the Secret Service Fund effectively means utilizing the funds not for the purpose they were intended for, which suggests an illegality, and that can never be termed procurement.
No. He, when he refers in paragraph 5, he
Okay.
talks to the unlawful access and use of the secret funds and the purpose for which those funds are accessed. And it doesn't talk to procurement. It talks to they are accessed in order to
Yes.
give to someone.
And at paragraph 5, all he says is his suspicion that the funds, as he says, quote, became taken unlawfully
Yes.
from the secret funds account to be given to the former police minister, Minister Becky Cele.
That
Close
is correct.
quote. That's not procurement.
No, that's not the program.
Okay.
Let me ask a more direct question on the back of that. What award or what tenders and contracts that were awarded did you investigate or your investigation involve arising from this referral? What tenders have you investigated and what contracts?
They are in the file that must be made available by midday today. That is a file that is still under inquiry, but that is where it relates to, Commissioner Baloyi. It's not in the dockets that were handed over.
In that file, we will find tenders or
In that file-
contracts that you investigate or you are investigating as a result of this Section 27 referral.
That is what I understand, yes.
Sorry,
I
what
just
does
want
it
to
what
go
does
back
it mean?
into my- Sorry.
You started off by saying it will be in that file. Now you say that's what you understand. What does that answer mean?
because I had to ask what was in each file so that we could make the files available. Part of the file that must be made available is a complaint that was lodged by Mr. Adams. Commissioners would recall he talked of 3 dockets, then he talked of and a Langlaagte docket. From what I understand, that is where the investigations lie in terms of the procurement of contracts, as well as, it is here.
Well, you may not be able to remember offhand, but my interest is in getting a clear answer from you that you, arising from the Section 27, you have investigated or you are investigating matters relating to specific tenders, because we are not speaking generally. There are tenders and contracts that you are investigating arising from the Section 27 referral, and we will find that in a file.
As soon as we get the file, I'll be able to confirm that.
You are unable to confirm now. Well, then you're going to make me ask. You're going to make me ask the question that Ms. Selo asked you earlier, which is, well, if we don't find it, what are you saying? We pronounce about it or we comment about it?
If it's not in the file, that I was told is the file dealing with Langlaagte and with contracts and procurement, then the same answer applies. Then there's a challenge with why it's not there.
Thank you.
And perhaps to take advantage and be more direct, 1.7, does it by any chance refer to the 360 million subcontract awarded to Medicare 24? Does it have anything to do with that?
Not at all.
It's a different contract.
Medicare was a separate
Okay.
Section 27 referral all on its own.
Thank you.
And unrelated.
And while we are on this, do you know how far do we have a Langlaagte related inquiry and investigation into specifically those contracts here?
That is the file we're waiting for.
Oh, there is an inquiry into the Langlaagte complaint.
That is correct.
Noted. If we go to 3311 on the same file, we're still at file 8. I see there it's dated, at the top it should just show dated the 6th of December 2024. It's signed by you as the ID. Is that correct? How does it work? Because if we look at 3307, it's supposed to be directed to you from Advocate Santos Manilal and Advocate D. Ramsamy. How do you get to sign it? I don't see anywhere where either one of them signed. I would have expected for them to sign, to make application as the heading in the tram lines suggest, and then you consider, and then you approve or not approve or you amend. So all I see is in this document, in this document we are looking at a document addressed to you, and at 3311 it's signed by you, suggesting to a reader that you made this application to yourself, and I don't think that's how it's intended to read. How do I reconcile that with how it's supposed to read?
So how it is supposed to read is under 8, on 3310, Commissioners, under 8, there's 8.1. It is recommended that there was supposed to be a signature either from Advocate Manilal or Ramsamy, and then for me to be able to agree and sign off the...
Are you saying that's how it's supposed to have read because that is how normally they read?
That's
Or
how
do they all read as reflected here, that it's recommended that an investigation in terms of 2813 be undertaken, and then you immediately sign as if you are the one recommending?
No, there should be space for me to comment.
Yes.
Their signature, space for me to comment, and then the signature that followed on 3311.
And that's how normally they would be within IDEC.
That is correct.
Why is this one different?
I honestly can't tell you why, but it is different.
You signed it. I think there's more you can say about this, why it is different. I take it that when you read it,
Yes,
you saw that it doesn't have signature for either Advocate Ramsamy or Advocate Manilal. You saw that it doesn't have space or provision for you to make comment, and you saw that it requires you to sign it and date it. So you didn't sign blindly, you applied your mind to
no,
this
I
document.
did apply my mind to the recommendation, the signature notwithstanding.
Yes, but then who's recommending to you?
The lack of signature,
Lack of
notwithstanding.
signature.
Yeah.
And
In this,
having, with full application of mind, you thought it appropriate to sign?
Advocate Ramsamy yes, she brought this application to me on the 5th. We went through the application, and I then signed the application.
Do you know what the risk is? And I don't know if you appreciate it. It's that, or maybe I'll put it differently. What would you say to perhaps an unfair claim that you and you alone drafted this document and you drafted it for yourself and you signed it and nobody else took part in that in the creation of that document? Would it be an unfair accusation, and what would your response there to be if you were confronted with such?
It would be an unfair accusation because there is a process that follows. The application is drafted by somebody, and it is brought by them. This portion is missing in this matter. I would, when you read it, it does make a recommendation from the author, which is from Manilal and Ramsamy. They make a recommendation. I agree with the recommendation, and I have signed it. I accept that, as we always do, there should have been the signature and the space that we always have for comment, and the comment would have had to have been the recommendation as per 8.1 is either it's approved or not approved.
Did you not notice that before you signed it? Did you not notice that the people who are supposedly the authors of this document do not append their signatures or a date? Because a date is important, it's not just the signature. The same way you do with that 6 December date, the date when they give it to you, whether it's on the 5th or the 4th, is equally important. Did it not strike you as odd that at the end of the document their names do not appear, nor does the date when they gave you this document?
So, Chair, so Commissioner Kumalo, I took the date as is, which is on the front of the document, which is the 5th of December 2024,
Yes.
as being the date of the document.
But normally the same way you do, if you look at dated and signed at on 3311 and then your signature afterwards, the two usually go together. Because, for example, if now they distance themselves from this document and they say, well, we did not make the recommendation, how do we establish that they did in the absence of their signature or the date when they appended a signature to the document.
I hear you. But the document does come from them with the date. It just didn't have the signature. But I take your point. It is done. In IDEC, they do put it in as a memorandum request, and it is usually signed. There is space for comment, and then for me to indicate whether approved or not approved, and then the application is also attached.
And why did you not pick it up or raise it at the time? Because the way you are responding now, it looks like you are seeing this for the first time.
No, I'm not sure why I didn't raise it.
I think, Ms. Johnson, unless there's a page missing or pages missing before page 3311, if that's all of it, if what we are looking at now is all of what was presented to you, then the other incomprehensible issue about this letter is that whoever drafted it, whether Mr. Manilal or Ms. Ramsame, would in fact have put you down at 3311 as the signatory of this letter, because that's what it means. You're a signatory of this letter, and on the face of it, until there's an explanation, which is that the page is missing, then what Ms. Silo is proposing to you, it leads only to that conclusion, which is, well, you either drafted this letter yourself, or a letter was presented, and this is my addition, was presented to you, you made your own changes to it, and then you signed it off. It doesn't contain exactly what would have been presented to you. That's what it looks like on the face of it. And I allow for the fact that a page may be missing, and maybe you can pull out a page that shows that these people made the recommendation, and it provided for you to indicate your approval. But as it stands now, on the face of it, it suggests that this is your production.
I can confirm it isn't, but I take the point that you're making about how it comes across.
What it looks like.
But it was not my document.
Yes.
I did not compile the document. The document was presented.
And you understand my point about, if it's not a case of a page missing, then it would be strange that Mr. Manilal or Ms. Ramsame would have signed off at the bottom as if you are the writer of this letter.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And we know that from your previous testimony that following this authorization that we are dealing with at CJC 3905, page 3307, on that particular day as well, there was a hive of activity. 2 letters written to, I think it's Lieutenant General Mbuso Kumalo requesting the dockets, a letter to General Sintumole, your authorization of the panel, the designated members to look into this, and the presentation of himself by Mr. Rapesu at the inspectorate to go obtain the dockets. The 6th of December was a busy day.
Yes, ma'am.
Very. Is that like standard busy days for IDEC?
It is standard when they are starting with an investigation and they are looking for, it depends on what they're looking for.
Yes.
And in this instance, because they were looking for the dockets, allegations being that the dockets had been lost, it created its own sense of urgency, is to locate the dockets. Nothing else beyond that.
So you consider the investigation urgent?
The tracing of the dockets urgent, yes.
Why?
The dockets, the allegation by Adams is the dockets are already missing. we are given a referral. We need to register an investigation. The investigation is now registered in terms of 2813, and the first exercise out of that, in order to go forward, is to trace the dockets.
I don't understand why. The referral is not referring a complaint of interception. We settled that one.
Yes.
It's referring a complaint about conduct, specific conduct, as articulated in the section 27. My suggestion is the dockets become completely irrelevant. This is a new complaint that must be substantiated on its own terms. And if I'm anywhere close to being correct, I would like to understand what was the urgency about this particular investigation. Just the allegation that dockets are missing and it's enough to set fire to IDEC and everybody runs in all directions.
That's not what happened, Council.
Okay.
We found out on that day that the dockets must be in Gauteng. I know it sounds like a lot of, it happened in a phased approach. The investigators try to determine where the dockets are. We then write to Major General Kumalo. He gives an indication of where the dockets are. We have to then follow that up. There's still time in that day to follow that up. And when we finally do follow where it is, we have to stand down because they can only then be made available on the Monday.
On the 9th, yeah.
So it wasn't, we have to get it today. It was, where are they? As you get the information, you follow that information. And when the destination of those dockets was determined, and it was determined that they were in a safe and that they were with a specific general, we went back on Monday.
We didn't touch on it, although we dealt with it with Colonel Padiache about the urgency of obtaining these dockets. And perhaps we will turn to that next.
Okay.
And my idea is to make the point that IDEC dealt with this investigation as of the 6th of December as a matter of extreme urgency, and I just want to understand why. But I see it's 11:04. The commissioners need to break for tea.
Let's adjourn and return at 11:35. Let's
Thank you, Chair.
adjourn.